Well, that was an absolute shambles, wasn't it? Don't really know where to start, if I'm honest. Welcome to my match review of Blackpool 4, Nottingham Forest 1 in the FA Cup third round. A tournament that was one of the most amazing memories I've ever had in football last year. And that was even going back to when we were a bang average championship side. I don't ever recall being so humiliated in the FA Cup. I really don't. And I think one thing's got to be said straight away. We made 11 changes. I think that was the right decision. And even though we made 11 changes, that team was more than good enough to beat Blackpool. Now, no disrespect to Blackpool, if any Blackpool fans are watching this, they thoroughly deserved to win that game, alright? They took their chances, they wanted it more than us, it's as simple as that. So well done to Blackpool, okay? I'm not being disrespectful to them. But ultimately, with the quality we have in that team, even that B team that played today, should easily be able to compete at a minimum against Blackpool. But we just didn't want it. And we were complacent. It was a mentality thing. And I don't put the blame on Cooper, quite frankly, because we quite clearly don't care about the FA Cup this year. We haven't. We're out of it. We're through to the League Cup quarter-finals. So that's the only consolation. We've done really well in the League Cup. And with our best team, we actually look like a team in the Premier League. But in the FA Cup, it was a third priority of the season for sure. But there's no excuses. That team was more than good enough to go through and win. But it was a complacency thing. It was a mentality thing. It's as simple as that. Looking at the goals, the first goal was a dreadful bit of defending. All goals were, but that goal, O'Brien, I think there's something wrong with him. I think he's fell out with someone behind the scenes. Why was he not on the bench against Southampton? Why is he just not being used at all? Why was he so bad today? He should have been easily be able to compete. A dreadful header away, and then Cook and Billy Brewster, who was happy to see play, but he looked out of his depth seemingly. And I've only seen short highlights of this game. They were totally out of their depth. Honestly, horrific. Hennessy, a statue. The second goal, Nico mugged off entirely. And then none of the players reacted well enough. The third goal, again, Nico's fault. It was a ball over the top. He was totally caught off guard. It was a great finish, to be honest, but you still should be doing better. And the fourth goal, Cook wasn't marking his man. And yeah, we got a consolation goal. It was a good cross, to be honest, from Harry Toffolo to find Yatesy. One of the few bright sparks. It has to be said, of course, Gustavo Scarpa playing for the first time, full 90 minutes, first start. He was one of the few bright sparks of this game, and we've got a real player on our hands there. But I wasn't too bothered if we didn't go through, but at the same time, the more we kept conceding, the more it really started to hurt and made me just think, no, I actually really do care, because this is absolutely shambolic. It doesn't matter that, we've done well in the League Cup. All we're bothered about is staying up. Let's just not try in the FA Cup. That's totally the wrong mentality. So, yeah, it was a disaster. It's probably the first time ever, from my point of view, being a younger fan compared to some people, that I can remember as being totally humiliated in the FA Cup. I know it's happened before, but that is right up there. As a Premier League team, to lose to a side that hadn't won in 9 games, Championship relegation zone, could very well get relegated, to be thoroughly outplayed by them, to just look like we didn't care. This was an opportunity today. This is the thing. For all those players in that team, really, besides Scarpa, hardly play. So the fact that they played so badly and just didn't seem like they were bothered is shocking. It's shocking. Every one of those players, Hennessy's a backup goalkeeper. Toffolo and Nico are backup fullbacks. I think we've proven today, particularly Nico, that he's not good enough right now. I think Nico's a great lad. He's has done good things for us this season, but he's nowhere near the level of Aurier, and he's nowhere near the level of Spence, quite frankly. But that's a different subject. Cook and McKenna were starting games in the Premier League, and guess what was happening when they were starting together? We were losing quite badly. The midfield, Fruit is a youngster, so let's not be too harsh on him. Colback's a backup. O'Brien's quite clearly heavily out of favour. And off today's performance, I understand why. And you know how much I've raved about O'Brien at times this season. And I still think he's a good player, but he hasn't been playing much at all. Scarpa's a new player, who's probably our best player today. In fact, he was. Dennis has been on the bench most of the time, and he could very well be getting sold. And as much as I've rated Sam Surridge and I've backed Sam Surridge, I'll gladly admit, even though I've only seen the highlights, he missed 3 sitters today. And it just emphasises, really, doesn't it, that we need a lot of work doing to this team still, and the depth of the team is the issue. In terms of strength in depth, we have the options, but they're not strong enough. And I'm not saying we ought to go and sign like 7 players. That would be idiotic if we did that. But we certainly need to sign another centre-back. A young, strong, physical centre-back is what we need. We needed a striker for sure. I was very reluctant to say that we needed a midfielder, but based off today's performance, I think we probably do. If we're going to be falling out with O'Brien with the injury to Kurate, then probably yes, you do need another midfielder. Is there anything else I ought to say? Probably not. It's just a shambles. And yeah, we're in the League Cup quarterfinals on Wednesday. An opportunity to get to a semi-final. First time I've ever seen that. I'm much more excited about that game. Obviously, the Leicester game next week. The Premier League is a much, much bigger priority. And ultimately, most of those lads are not going to be starting in the league anytime soon. Maybe not ever again, for all we know. But ultimately, it's still an embarrassment. It's still a disaster. I suppose if you were to be really try and be optimistic about it, because we did so well in the FA Cup last year, I suppose being knocked out this year, it doesn't hurt quite so much. But I'm lying, because it really does. Aside that we beat 4-1 last year with arguably a worse team. Very disappointing. Hope you enjoyed this video, everyone. Not sure you have, but this is my match review to the game. I'll be at the Wolves and Leicester games, of course. Whenever I possibly can, I'll be watching these games away from home. I tried to watch it today, but it just isn't possible. So I enjoy doing these reviews. You seem to enjoy them as well, so it's better than nothing. But I haven't really enjoyed this video because of how depressing it's been. But what a shambles. What an awful, awful game of football. And just got to move past it now and focus on the League Cup and focus more than anything on the Premier League. So, well done to Blackpool, but what a shambles that was from Forest today. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you've enjoyed, and I'll see you very soon. Come on, you Reds.